nice Monday. Welcome to Meal Prep Monday. I've had a really busy weekend this weekend. I did the 40-kilometer walk on Saturday, so that took up 8 hours of my day, and I had a lot of functions on yesterday, so I didn't get time to shop over the weekend, which is kind of a good thing, I think, occasionally, because you can easily forget how much you actually still have in your cupboard, and when you continue to buy things, other items get lost, and you're not utilizing the opportunity as much to use up what you already have. So this morning I sat down and had a look what was in my pantry, what was in my fridge, and decided what I was going to make for my Meal Prep Monday today. I'm going to make some snacks. And also later on this week, we're actually road tripping with the kids for a couple of days for an extra long weekend. So I wanted to make some snacks that I can take in the car. So my mindset behind that was something that's not too messy, something that's okay, not being refrigerated, something that they're actually going to enjoy eating, something that's not too high in sugar because I don't need them hitting a sugar high in the car. That would just make for an extra long trip. We are driving down to Victoria, so we're going for about 8 hours in the car each way. So that was my brief for today when I sat down and thought about what I'm going to make, and I decided to do some banana bread. I thought that is something that I will make on occasions, good for the kids, fills up their tummy, they like the natural sweetness of that. But store-bought banana bread can be so bad for you. There's so much sugar in it. So this is my version of banana bread that is using sweetener instead of sugar and a little bit of honey. I'm going to do this with my Thermomix, but you don't need a Thermomix. You can do this in your blender, or you can actually just do it in a bowl as well, whichever your preference is. And I'm also going to make some protein balls, some peanut butter, dark chocolate chip protein balls as well. So I'm going to start with the banana bread. I'm going to get that in the oven cooking. Then we're going to move on to the protein balls. So I'm utilizing my time in the best possible way. So let's get started. I again had some bananas that are pretty much ready. These are like the best way to make banana bread. You should, when you're making banana bread, really use bananas that are really ripe, because they're just a little bit sweeter and they taste so much better, especially in something like banana bread. So I'm just going to take these over to my Thermomix. This recipe calls for about 350 grams of bananas, which is about 4 bananas, 3 to 4 bananas depending on how big they are. These are pretty small bananas really. So I'm just going to chop this straight into my Thermomix as I'm going. I've already got my oven on preheating, and this recipe also calls for buttermilk, so I've pre-made that before I jumped on live with you guys as well. So I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that buttermilk, you can make your own buttermilk by adding some lemon juice into full cream milk, and I discovered doing that. I've been doing that for a while now. Basically because I don't use enough buttermilk to buy it. I was buying like a 600 ml container, and I really only need 100 mils. And then I'd have to throw the rest away because I wasn't using it for anything else. So I discovered how to make my own, and I do that now, so that's a lot easier. Alright, so I've got 310 grams of bananas there. I've just chopped that straight into the Thermomix. Now that's just going to mush it all up for me. If you didn't want to do this in your blender, you could use a potato masher. Sorry, I forgot to warn you that I was going to do that. You can use your potato masher, or even a whisk. Can get a little bit messy. So yeah, blending it up is the easiest way, or just mash it with a fork really. It's all going to get you to the same result. It just depends on how much time it's going to take in between. So I've got some chopped butter here, 130 grams of unsalted butter. It's been out on the bench for a little bit, but The weather, I don't know what's happened. It's literally freezing today. I'm quite cold. I've also got a 3/4 cup of sweetener that I'm going to use. Now you can make your own adjustments to sugar in recipes by using sweetener and a combination of honey. So depending on how much quantity you need, you can work out what the ratios are for that. So the honey helps do the job of what sugar does in baking. So you do need to sort of still add that honey component with your sweetener. And make sure you look up the quantities, what the conversion really is, because sweetener is obviously a lot sweeter than sugar. So you can't really do the same, don't do the same combination. So if your recipe called for 100 grams of sugar and you put in 100 grams of sweetener, it would just be ridiculously sweet. It would be awful. So be mindful of that. Just mixing that again. That's just mixing for 20 seconds now. And I just find that this is the easiest way to do it, and then you're not mixing so much by hand. There's not so much mess going around everywhere. So this is what keeps it nice and quick for me. I'm all about cooking efficiently. I do enjoy being in the kitchen, but I want to maximise my time as much as I can, being a busy mum. Alright, I'm just going to scrape down the sides of that and then keep following that along. So I might just show you what that looks like. So that's literally just my sweetener. You see that? Yeah. Just my sweetener, mashed eggs, and that little bit of honey. So this is not going to be a lumpy banana bread. This is going to be a really smooth one. Got 2 eggs that I'm just going to pop straight into the mixer. So lucky my dad has chickens and I get an abundance of eggs, which is awesome. We eat a lot of eggs. We probably go through 2 dozen eggs a week, I reckon. Probably, maybe even 3 some weeks, depending on what I'm making. Alright, I've got my eggs in. I'm mixing that yet again. Another 10 seconds. See how nice and quick this process is. It doesn't take very long at all. My oven's just beeped that it's preheated as well, so that's good to go. And we keep cracking on with doing this. So 220 grams of plain flour. I don't substitute this with almond flour or anything like that. I actually just stick to the normal recipe because I just find the kids really don't like the consistency of it if I don't use normal flour. I even find using wholemeal flour, it's great the first day that you bake with it, but the days after that, the texture of the item that you've cooked really changes, and then I just find it quite difficult for the kids. They're just not really into it. So I just use normal plain flour or baking flour. 2 teaspoons of baking powder that I'm just popping into this now. And I've got a little pinch of salt. I've got my salt shaker here. Just going to put that straight in. Just use rock salt, or otherwise I have sea salt flakes that I use a lot when I'm cooking. Oh, and I forgot my bicarb. I'll just get that out. Here. I need a teaspoon of bicarb soda. I try and keep as much of my stuff into airtight containers or Tupperware containers as much as I can. Just find that it lasts so much longer when you take the time to sort of put things away properly. What else do I need? I need my buttermilk. So I made that earlier, like I said to you. I mixed a bit of lemon juice into full cream milk, and that makes my buttermilk. You kind of have to leave it for at least 4 or 5 minutes for it to turn into the buttermilk. So make sure if you are making that yourself, do that to start with. So make sure that's your first step. Otherwise you'll have to wait a few minutes before you can continue on with your recipe if you've realised you've missed that afterwards. 2 teaspoons of vanilla, straight in, lid on, mixing again, 20 seconds. And done. Perfect. Alright, we're ready to get that cooking. I'm going to give that another little mix. So you can see that's such a nice smooth batter, which is awesome. I don't know, my kids love bananas, but sometimes they can get funny if there's like big chunks of banana in there. Don't ask why. Strange. Alright, so I'm pouring this straight. I've got a silicone loaf tin. It's not really a tin, but a loaf tray that I'm going to use here. I like the silicone bakeware because then I don't have to use baking paper and extra butter or cooking spray or something to put into that. So my preference is, using these silicone mats and bakeware to reduce my carbon footprint. I'm just scraping all this banana mixture out, and that's pretty much filled my tin nicely. Just smooth it off on the top. Get a cloth because I'm a bit messy and I've just spilled that on the bench. Otherwise I'll end up with it on my shirt. Alright, nice. Look at that. Can't turn it too much, I'll spill it out. So that's nice and smooth. I'm popping that straight in the oven. I'm going to put that on the bottom tray because it does need to be in here for about 50 to 60 minutes. So we won't see the end of that while we're on here cooking today. But I'll pop up a photo in this thread afterwards so you can have a little look at that and see what it looks like. So once it is cooked, you do need to leave it in that container, whatever you're cooking in, whether it's a tin or your silicone form. Leave it in there for half an hour and let that cool down before you take it out. Okay, so then after it's been there for half an hour, you can take that out and sit it on a wire rack to cool down. And this one will be really nice in time for afternoon tea when the kids get home from school and they'll be ready to have something nice, and they probably like to have it warm actually. So a nice, almost considering doing hot chocolate again. It's that kind of weather. I don't know what happened over the weekend. When we were doing our walk, it was 30 degrees on Saturday, and yesterday it went back down to, I think it was literally about 15, 16 degrees. So I don't know, changed overnight. Alright, let's get into making some protein balls. So I'm making this, the kids will probably eat these, but primarily I'm making this for hubby and I. These you can eat at room temperature. You do need to put them into the fridge to obviously go hard, and then you can pull them out and they will last a couple of hours in the car. I'll probably take a cooler bag with us with some ice bricks in there so they will stay a little bit chilled. My preference is to eat them chilled. I like them cold. I just find they go a little bit too soft when they're at room temperature. But it's up to you. That really is a personal preference. So this is a true sense of being protein balls, because I am putting protein powder in there as well. I'm just going to open up the recipe that I've got here. So I have got 1 cup of almond meal. I've already measured that out. If you wanted to make, if you do have a Thermomix, you can make your own almond meal. You just ground up your almonds, and that is, honestly, it's a lot cheaper to make it yourself if you can. If you've got a blender that has a really strong motor or has a milling function, you can make your own icing sugar and all sorts of things, which saves money from buying the normal product. Now, the recipe actually called for a cup of dark chocolate chips. I didn't have any chocolate chips. I haven't been to the shops. I did have a block of dark chocolate in the cupboard, so I just chopped that up, used a big knife, and chopped it up. So the sizes of my chocolate pieces in my protein balls are going to be inconsistent for that, but that could be quite nice. I'm not really too phased about that. So I've just added in that cup of chopped dark chocolate. Now you can get sugar-free chocolate chips as well these days, so that might be a nice option if you wanted to do a lighter version again. If you are using dark chocolate, make sure you're picking a really high percentage of dark chocolate as well, because it's a little bit better for you. I've also got some gentle fibre here, which is half a cup of gentle fibre. And that is this packet here that you can get. This is from Woolies. You can get it Woolies or Coles. I like using this. I could have easily just put a little bit more almond flour in there, but I like using this fibre mix because it has a bit more texture. So it has some linseeds and it almost gives it like a grainy texture. So this recipe originally was made with rolled oats, and I've adapted this for myself to make a lower carbohydrate version because that's my preference. So if you didn't want to do that, you could literally just use 1.5 cups of rolled oats, quick oats, but my preference is to use some almond flour and that gentle fibre mixture just to give it a little bit more texture. Now I've also got protein powder here. I've got 1/4 cup vanilla protein powder. I always buy vanilla protein powder because I find it so much easier to use when I'm cooking for different recipes. If I wanted to make chocolate protein powder, I would just add probably a tablespoon, probably a tablespoon of cacao powder to give it a more chocolate flavour if I needed that. Otherwise I just stick with vanilla. If I'm making a protein shake with my vanilla protein powder and some almond milk, I often will do a coffee pod in my Nespresso machine and make it into kind of an iced coffee type flavour. I've found when you buy protein powders that have coffee flavour in them, they can be quite yuck. So making my own with my preferred coffee tastes a lot nicer. That's my preference of doing that. So you can see my dry mix here. It's just a mix of, you can see the chocolate in there and then the almond meal and that fibre mixture. And now we're going to add in our wet ingredients essentially. So I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. Now depending on how you feel about maple syrup, I use this one here, which is a sugar-free version. So no, it's not real maple syrup, I know, but it does save on the calories. But if you are a lover of real maple syrup, then you may want to stick to the full version. The kids like this. I find it's really good on the pancakes. Tastes nice and sweet, kind of covers all the bases for us. Alright, and I've also got 1 cup of peanut butter here. Now you could make this, if you were making this with oats, and then you could use that wow butter, which is nut free, then this would be suitable for a school snack if you're allowed to have chocolate at your school. So I'm going to tip this peanut butter in. I really like peanut butter. This is smooth peanut butter. It does seem to work better with recipes when you use smooth, but it's up to you. And make sure that when you're buying your peanut butter, make sure you're buying one that is just 100% nuts. A lot of those commercialized, won't name any brands, a lot of those commercialized peanut butter have a lot of extra things in there that you wouldn't expect. Lots of extra salt, even sugar, in something that you don't even realise is sweet. So be mindful, have a look at the back of the packet, have a little read and see what's actually happening on that label. Alright, so I've got my peanut butter in, I've got my maple syrup in, I just need to put in a little bit of salt. I've got some salt flakes here that I've got in a container. I'm just going to put in a little pinch This is obviously optional. I do like that little touch of the salt taste. And I'm literally just going to put this in my mixer to mix now. Just make sure I've got all that peanut butter in there. Don't want to miss any peanut butter. Alright, now I'm just going to take that over to my Thermomix. And I'm just going to mix that. I might use a new leaf because I don't want to get raw banana in my protein balls. I'm just going to mix that on low for, I don't know, I'll have a look, it's 10 seconds, on speed 4. I don't really need to do anything with it rather than mix it all up. You could do this by hand if you wanted to. This is just obviously me trying to utilise the best use of time. Everything that can be quicker and more efficient, that's just my preference of getting things done. I didn't decide what container I was going to use before I did this. So, alright, I've got a airtight container that I'm going to roll these protein balls into. I'm just going to have a look, see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that will work. Let's go for a few more seconds. 5 seconds. Speed 6. Alright. Done. Wait for that to stop beeping. And I'll show you what I've got. So that's come together really nicely. You can see it's still a little bit crumbly. And I don't want it too wet. If you felt, the really easy way to know if you've got the consistency right on your protein ball is just to pinch it together. Like, is it starting to form? Is it sticking together? Or if it is just crumbling and falling apart, you may need to add a little bit more moisture in there. So I'm kind of feeling a bit 50-50 about this. It is really looking crumbly. So I might actually just add in an extra tablespoon. Makes quite a lot actually. This is my first time making this one. I'm going to add in an extra tablespoon of maple syrup, just because I feel like they're going to just crumble apart when you try and eat them, and then you don't enjoy it as much because it's just falling apart. So I'm going to put that back in the mixer. I'm going to go for another 5 seconds. Speed 6. I can even hear that the blender was taking a little bit longer to process that, so it means it's really kind of thickened that mix up. Alright, and that's going to be much easier to work with now because it's just going to come together a little bit more. Now, hot tip, if you think, I really want to make protein balls but I just hate rolling them out, I don't like getting my hands dirty, getting in there, if that's something that you really don't enjoy, put it into a slice tray, put it into a container and flatten it out, cut it into squares. Who said they have to be round? Who said they have to be an actual protein ball? So I just use a dessert spoon here, take that into my hand and I squish it so it all sticks together, comes together, and just a light roll, don't roll it too much. If that started to really crumble in your hands, you would know that you need a little bit more in there. So depending on what kind of variation of protein ball you're making, you could make you could add either a teaspoon of water or something like that. Otherwise, I just had the maple syrup, so I've just added a little bit more maple syrup. And I'm going to make sure that I try and make them quite even. If you wanted to coat them in something, you could. I'm not going to because coconut flakes will make a mess in the car. And there's already quite a bit of chocolate in there, so there's lots of sweetness in here already. I don't want to go overboard on that. I just want something nice and a little bit of a treat while we're in the car, easy to eat and mess free, and you know that because it's all sticking together. It's not going to fall apart in the car or anything like that. So that is really quick and easy. I'm going to roll all these up. I think I'm probably going to get maybe 20 of them, which is way too many to take in the car. We will not take that many on our road trip with us. But this is something that lasts a good week as well. So we're just going away for an extra long weekend. So then I know when I get home on Monday night that I've already got some snacks still here ready to go. So I'm not going to derail when I walk back in the door. I might even make the little apricot slice, the apricot delight slice that I've shared with you guys a couple weeks ago. I might even make some of that because I know that that lasts really well, and I can have that ready for school snacks to go next week. I can have that all cut up and ready in the fridge. So when we're back at school on Tuesday next week, I've got stuff to put in lunch boxes. All I need to worry about is making sure I've got a sandwich or a wrap or something in there for the main component of their lunches, and the snacks are all ready to go. Pick up a few apples and we'll be ready to sort of get by straight away back into that routine of our normal week, even though we will be falling behind obviously from our preparation and those sorts of things. The apricot slice literally only takes 5 minutes to make, so while my banana bread is still cooking, I can get in on that as well. And then I'm done. I'm all set. I've made 3 things within the hour while the banana bread's cooking, and I'm set for snacks. So that's really, really handy, quick and easy, doesn't have to be complicated, and you can still cook from scratch, make things fresh. Invest in a good blender, something that you can really use efficiently, and it honestly just makes your life so much easier. So I hope you've enjoyed those quick snacks that I've got prepared for you today. I'm not going to bore you while I continue to roll that out, and the banana bread's still got a good 45 minutes to go in the oven. So I'll pop a photo below so you can see what that looks like this afternoon. Banana bread's one of those things that it can look very different depending on how you cook it. So I'll be sure to share that with you this afternoon, and I'll also pop in a link if you're interested in grabbing a copy of these recipes. Please let me know. Put your details in the link below and you'll get the recipes straight to your inbox. So I hope you have a great day. If you have any preference of what you'd like to see me make or meal prep, please shout out, let me know, and I'll see if I can make that happen. Have a great week. I will see you guys soon. Bye.